Welcome to The Lock Shop with Nielson and Hustler, powered by Coolbet Canada.
Hey, what's up, Lock Shoppers? Welcome to the program today. Huss and JBM in with you today. We're going to dive into some Four Nations futures as well as the full offerings over at Coolbet for the NHL at the break. A little bit of a slow betting time right now. We do have some hoops tonight, probably some college basketball. But today, we are actually going to be focusing on some poker tonight because it is the latest installment of the Lock Shop Poker Series. Tonight, 9 p.m. in Winnipeg, 8 p.m. in Edmonton, 10 if you're out east, 7 if you're in BC. It is on. Now, to remind you all, if you have not played with us before, what you don't want to do is go over to coolbet.com. You'll see at the top, there's sports. You click on poker. Download the poker app onto your device, computer, whatever. And then if you go into tournaments, there's a little magnifying glass there. Just type in lock. It'll pop up, Lock Shop Poker Open. The time, I haven't checked it. Sometimes the time is like an overseas time, so don't worry about that. Just know if you're in Edmonton, it's at 8. If you're in Winnipeg, it's at 9. And enter and join us. There'll be a $100 bounty on my head, a $100 bounty on Dusty's head, a couple others as well. And these continue to grow. They've been so much fun. So if you've been on the fence, this is a great day. We have nothing to focus in on tonight in the hockey world. So let's do it. Lock Shop Poker Series tonight. May the best player win. And I've really sharpened up my poker skills after Costa Rica. So I'm looking forward to this one tonight. JBM, what's going on? How are you?
Doing well, Huss. You might be the man to beat this event here. We already got 8 people signed up. Patty just said that there in the chat. But with you, with your poker prowess from Costa Rica, you might be the guy to beat. Hopefully I will show some improved results. The
first one, I was like right there on the bubble. I think top 10. My last couple haven't been as nice. I think people realize that the bounty's on me and they're gunning for me, and I've been a little too willing to throw down and take these challenges. But yes, tonight is the night. You can get in there. You can reserve your spot right now. I'm going to have to go in and do the same thing myself. And usually we've had sort of 50, 60 people. Hopefully we can keep it growing. But it should be a lot of fun tonight. What did you do last night? Been asking all my friends this. The first day after the Super Bowl, there was nothing going on. How did you occupy yourself?
Yeah, Monday nights I actually play men's league, so I was down at my men's league game. We didn't do too well last night. We lost 3-0, so that was a bit of a battle. We were only like 9 guys, so it was short shifts and a lot of sweat, and our legs were pretty burnt. So it was more of survival than actually playing hockey, but that's how I occupied my time. Got home around 9:30. Threw on a TV show, nothing crazy. I know I'm just like, now I'm waiting till Wednesday to get to some more hockey action really at this point. But yeah, I didn't really tune into the Lucas stuff. I caught some of the box score while it was going on, and then saw some of the highlights actually this morning. But yeah, that was the big story of the night, I guess. Luka making his Lakers debut. He only played 23 minutes. I think he was like 14 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists. Not a bad little showing from him. Lakers killed the Jazz. So, yeah, we'll see what that looks like down the stretch here in the NBA. I think the All-Star break is coming up for the NBA as well. So we're in this weird, no NHL, possibly no NBA here soon. Four Nations just got to get us over. The nice thing I'll say about Four Nations, Huss, is, they're going to play for the next 2 weeks here, but it ends on the 20th. We're going to be in Boston for the final there on the 20th. And we got NHL hockey starting on the 22nd, like right back into the NHL season.
I couldn't believe that.
No little break.
I couldn't believe that. I was just doing a couple things for the show and our schedule, and knowing that, we're going to be there next week. And then, I'm going to come back a day later so I can do Lock Shop and do Winnipeg Sports Talk on that Friday to sort of wrap the tournament. I had no idea that there were games on that Saturday. Jets are in St. Louis that night. I think we can probably pencil in Eric Comrie to have that start for the Jets against St. Louis 2 days after the final. But you're right. It is going to be a really quick turnaround. And these are these two sort of dead days. This is essentially the break, because when we get going, it starts tomorrow with Canada, Sweden. You got Finland, USA on Thursday night. Friday night, Lance Romance and Jake and all of you can do your duties with Valentine's Day. No conflicts with hockey. And then we got the doubleheader on Saturday. And Saturday night, Canada, USA. To me, that I think is going to be really when this tournament, I think, starts collectively. I can't wait to see what those TV numbers are like here in Canada for that game, Jake. And then we'll get to Boston. And I mean, the 17th, next Monday, is just such a massive day. 2 games. They want to have the teams playing the same amount of games and the same amount of rest time before the final. Canada, Finland early, Sweden, USA late. And then those 2 teams that are remaining will have a couple days to practice and get ready for what should be a pretty awesome final to a quick series. Like I was talking with Carlo Koliakovo today, and you can see the full interview on WST today. But he was mentioning, like, he's fired up for the tournament, but he just wants to see, what it's like. Like, I have zero doubt that every single person that are on these teams are going to be treating this like a playoff game. This is not going to be like an NHL All-Star weekend. I have no worries about that. I'm not sure why some others do.
Yeah, I think someone said it yesterday. I don't know if it was you or Dusty, but like, I just can't see a guy throwing on, his country's colors and playing at a 70%, 80% clip. Like, we haven't seen international hockey at the highest level in a little while here.
A decade.
That's a long time, Huss. Like, no, I guess we had World Cup was 2016, right?
But the thing is, that didn't count. Like, that wasn't best on best. I mean, you had McDavid and Matthews and all these guys playing for Team North America, which was, I guess, kind of a cool little novelty concept. And yes, they got more players into it. But you can't tell me that the results of a Canada-USA game, when you're taking out all of those incredible players, really cuts the mustard. And that's why Saturday night, for the first time in a decade, we're going to see our best against the State's best. And hopefully, for the sake of the tournament and for us, we'll get that rematch next Thursday in Boston for the tourney. So, listen,
another thing on Four Nations, I don't know if people know this. It's our favorite format of point system. You and I talk about this all the time.
Games.
The 3-point game is exactly how it should be. If a team wins in regulation, they get 3 points. Loser gets 0. If they go to overtime, same as the NHL, winner gets 2 points and the loser gets 1. Now, I looked at it yesterday. The overtime format for the round robin is 10 NHL style, so 3-on-3, but 10-minute overtimes, which I really would love them to go do in the NHL. I don't know if they ever will. And then for the final, it's NHL playoff overtime, so 5-on-5 until we have a winner. So that could be interesting if we get a finals overtime between whoever it ends up being. Like you said, we're hoping for a Canada-US final. That would be, the all-time finish to the return of international hockey. But yeah, it'll be pretty interesting if that game gets to overtime and we got a 5-on-5 sudden death for a chance to win that first cup. And I don't know if you saw the cup. I think Pierre LeBrun posted a picture of it earlier today. It is huge. It is huge. So who knows? Us, maybe Canada wins, and we didn't get to go to the Eagles Super Bowl party, but maybe we get the Canada Four Nations party, and we're drinking out of the Four Nations Cup.
That would be nice. I'm not displeased that I missed the Eagles Super Bowl party. I think I got most of it out yesterday. People asking if I'm still in mourning. It's still a little bit. Let's just say I haven't been listening to all of my regular podcasts and everything. I didn't need a bunch of big Super Bowl recaps like I did the last 2 years. Smitty the Welder with, a bit of a bad take. What can I say? Smitty, what are you talking about? This isn't best on best either.
Well, I think the problem is it's only 4 teams, and we're not getting Russia, which we haven't had for a little while here because of World Juniors.
I don't care.
They've obviously, with what's going on with them, there's a reason they haven't been included in these international tournaments. We don't have Germany with Draisaitl. But I mean, when you look at it, it's for the top nations in terms of hockey. And we haven't seen McDavid, McKinnon, and Crosby play, and McCarr for that matter, play on the same team, since these guys have come into the league. Like, this is, if you're not excited for Four Nations, I don't know. I think, like Patty always says, you got a big dump in your pants because this is going to be what we're going to be watching for the next 2 weeks.
I wouldn't have even cared if, then no disrespect to Sweden and Finland. I mean, they're in it and they should be. But if you had just told me it was Canada playing the USA in a best of 5 or something, I would be, sign me up for this. I mean, there's a generation of American players that has truly arrived, and young superstars, Austin Matthews, Jack Hughes, and we've never seen them together. And let's face it, I mean, McDavid and McKinnon and Crosby, the generational players for Canadian hockey haven't been able to do it together either. So, okay, listen, I grant you, it's not the Olympics, but bad news. If you're a big Russia guy, I don't think the Russians are going to be in the Olympics either next year. Now, the NHLers will be there, and that will take it to another level. But considering we've gone 10 years without seeing the best Canadians on the same team competing against national teams from other teams, I'm all in on this. And as I say, I think we're gonna have a ton of fun next week going to these games and firing up some fun content from Boston for the final 2 games and then heading into the final. Let's focus in on this right now. And before we talk about, there's some great options. We'll go through them all over at Coolbet when we kind of get into these teams. The number on Canada keeps dropping, Jake. And if you will recall, about a month ago, USA was the favorite. USA was about plus 155. Canada was about plus 165 or so. The Finland number has really dropped off because of the injuries that they've been dealing with right now. They've gone from 7-1 to 10-1. But Canada right now is plus 140. USA is plus 175. I have to think that's a lot of fired up Canadian fans that are now looking at these lines now that the NHL has paused and say, I'm in on Canada no matter what, and betting that number down.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say, Huss. It's definitely drawing more attention now that we are on NHL break. And I think with the more attention that comes, people are seeing the Canada number, and whether you're throwing it in with a little, Canada to win. Let me just see if you can parlay this. I wonder if anyone's done this. If you can take Canada to win, and, we got Oilers fans in the chat. Let's see if we can do it. Canada to win, Oilers to win the cup, plus 1580, by the way. If any Oilers fans are looking for a little action in the Four Nations, you can get Canada to win the Four Nations, Oilers to win the cup. That's plus 1580. If you do the Jets, Huss, plus 3260. So that's a kind of a way you can, if you want to bet Canada to win this tournament and you're like, not enough juice with the plus 140. It is only a maximum 4 games, right? Like, this isn't going to be a long, drawn-out process. It's going to be a pretty quick little event. But if you want to root on your team, whether it's in the Stanley Cup, you can actually go over to, the Eastern or the Western Conference. If you want Canada to win, Four Nations, Edmonton to win the Western Conference, 8-1 right now. You just get a little extra juice. Use those NHL futures, use the Four Nation futures, and put them together and get a little bit of extra juice as we head into this event.
While you're mentioning a little extra juice, I do want to mention to all of you lock shoppers, we've been saying all season long that the dream scenario for us here, WST, EST, would be a Jets-Oilers Western Conference final. And they have thrown it up in the combo cards right now. The Lock Shop Bowl. Oilers to make the Western Conference finals, yes. Jets to make the Western Conference finals, yes. That's plus 725. It's boosted to 825 right now. I maxed that sucker out. I mean, I've been thinking about this possibility for months. Listen, both teams are going to have a tough time. Like, even if you get through the first round, if it's likely the Dallas Stars waiting for Winnipeg, they've been to the conference finals the last 2 years, and the Vegas Golden Knights, a very, very tough team. But I mean, can you imagine how much fun it would be for 2 weeks between these two Canadian cities? And we'd be guaranteed of a Canadian team in the Stanley Cup final too, which would be awesome.
Well, yeah, Huss. I mean, think about just the programming that we'd have going. We got, the Nielsen show in the morning. We roll into the Lock Shop, and then we got WST to follow. Like, all the conversations that would be going on in this, and then game to game, the updates from that. I don't know. You'd be swimming in like just incredible NHL, cool bets, all that type of content on the Lock Shop. It's exciting. Yeah. So shout out to our guy, Evdog. We talk about him a lot on this show. We're chatting with him yesterday to try to get this thing live. So you can actually, if you go to the NHL futures tab, you can actually get Oilers and Jets individually to make the Western Conference finals. So Oilers are plus 150, Jets plus 230. So if you just want to back your team, you don't know if you can trust the other one, there's your option there. But then when you go to the main page, our sports recommendations page, at the top of the page in the combos, which we've been talking about a lot for the last few months, we have the Lock Shop Bowl, NHL Western Conference final, Oilers to make it, Jets to make it, and that would be an Oilers-Jets Western Conference final, boosted from plus 725 to plus 825. Like you said, you've already max betted. Dusty betted this morning for a little bit, he said on his show. So if you're on board for that, an EST WST Western Conference final with all the content that would come with that, I think that's
Civil War.
Yeah.
Civil War right now.
Lock Shop Civil War
in Western Canada. Sign me up for it. Cannot wait. So anyways, I wanted to mention that's up there right now. You can jump on that over the course of the next few days. So for the Four Nations, to win the tournament, we mentioned Canada's down to plus 140. USA is plus 175. Sweden's plus 450. Finland's plus 100. I'll be honest, I don't love the Canada number right now with the way that it's gone, because I don't know if Canada should be the favorite. We talk a lot about goaltending. I think there's a big question. Although, I mean, Aiden Hill's won a cup. It just sucks that Logan Thompson isn't on the team. He's been the best Canadian goaltender all year long, and he's not there. So as egregious as we're all choked about Mark Scheifele, who's the top scorer since they announced the team, and top 5 and on the number 1 team, blah, blah, blah. The goaltending to me is the biggest kind of concern from a Canadian perspective, because we know what the Americans are throwing out there. You know what the Swedes and the Finns have. And it is sort of crazy, Jake. I mean, just on a bigger hockey conversation, we grew up in an era where Canada was picking between Martin Brodeur, Patrick Waugh, Ed Belfour, Curtis Joseph. I mean, there were so many great Canadian
and then my era, Carey Price. You think about some of those good Fleury years. He was on those teams. He didn't really play, but Price
won the MVP. I mean,
that 2014 Olympics. He was incredible. Like, he was unbelievable. And we're just not really in that era of goaltending. I don't know if it's a Canadian minor hockey problem that they just struggling to develop goaltending. But like you said, we do have good goaltenders in the system. We just didn't bring them to this tournament. Like Logan Thompson should absolutely be there. He should absolutely be starting for this team. And the fact that he's not is a little frustrating. They picked the team so long ago, and then you see what he's done since. It's going to be interesting. It is the one question mark that the Canadians have. I'm just looking at, we're going to get into a lot of these today, but I was just looking ahead at some of the games. Saturday's Canada-US game. USA is a slight dog, plus 106. I was looking at the overtime number, the home tie away. Draw, plus 360. I wouldn't be shocked if that one finds its way into overtime. Yeah. And, especially if both teams win their first game, guarantee yourself a point in the second one. And then if you can win your third game, you're probably looking at a little rematch. So could be an interesting one. And I was going to say as well, Huss, you mentioned the plus 140 on Canada to win the tournament. If you think they're going to beat Sweden, which the odds would tell you that, they're fairly big favorite, minus 243. But if you think they might lose to the USA in that first game, you might want to wait to bet Canada to win after the USA game. Their odds might get a little bit better. But it all depends on what goes on with, Finland and Sweden as well. But yeah, just an interesting thought there. But yeah, let's keep rolling through it here. A lot to get to in terms of props and game by game as well.
Yeah. So again, the winner, Sweden's plus 450, Finland is 10-1. Now we've got team totals, we've got player goals, and we've got player points. We'll get into the individual stuff in a minute. Maybe we want to cook up a couple things for, a couple of exclusives that we can kind of tie in with some player performances and the team.
Yep.
Exact round robin points. And again, you were pointing this out. You win in regulation, you get 3 points. Win in OT or a shootout, you get 2. Lose in OT or a shootout, you get 1. The exact round robin points. So if a team went 3-0, all in regulation, they're getting 9 points. Canada plus 550 to do that. USA 8-1. Finland and Sweden are 30 and 20-1 respectively. So you win 2 games in regulation. Like, I could totally see Canada and the States winning their 2 games against the European teams and us getting an overtime game. And if that happens, you're talking about 7 and 8 points on either side.
Right. Pretty good numbers there, too.
USA for 7 is 9-1. USA for 8 is 10-1. Canada for 7 is 7-1. And Canada for 8 is 9-1. You could possibly, if you're thinking, and then what's 6? Plus 250 and plus 250 for both of those teams. I'm not sure this is a market I'll spend a lot of time in because it's kind of like putting a needle in haystacks. Unless we wanted to do something like, hey, Finland's devastated. Are they going to win any games? Plus 300 on Finland to go 0-3.
Yeah. The other thing, Huss, I'm just looking at because there's specific markets. So we have Canada round robin points over 5.5. We could probably get a 6.5 market there as well. And then if you think Canada can get to their 7 points, so 2 regulation wins, say they beat the 2 European clubs in reg, and then they get to overtime with the US, that gets you your 7. You probably get a better number there as opposed to trying to take the exact point number.
That is true. USA over 5.5 is minus 120. I think that's probably a pretty good bet. As far as something that I would bet myself. The Canada one is, do I think they'll go over 5.5? Yes, I do. Minus 161 is a little tough. We were talking about getting that result in, getting a point in that game against Team USA. So that is something we can definitely look at. The Sweden round robin points is over 3.5 at minus 122. And Finland's round robin under 3.5, minus 196. It's very clear that with the injuries that Finland's had, they've sort of really been dropping. So all of that is up right there. But then we get to our options. Okay, tournament top goal scorer. Austin Matthews 8-1. McDavid 9-1. Reinhart and Braden Point 11-1. Nate Dogg 14-1. Jack Hughes 15-1. Kyle Connor 16-1. Mikko Rantanen and Brady Tkachuk 18-1. Philip Forsberg 20-1. If you display them all, your boy Willie Stiles, he's 20-1 as well.
Sure, Patty loves that one.
Line 25, Eichel 28, Sid, Aho, Barkov, Matthew Tkachuk 30, Mark Stone, JT Miller, Jake Gensel 35-1, Rupi Hintz, Kreider, Konechny, Raymond, Brandon Hagel 40, and then Dylan Larkin at 45. 50s include Makar, Kempe, Boldy, Elias Paterson, Lekkinen, and it goes all the way down. Brock Faber, Charlie McAvoy, Werenski, Hedman, 200-1. Josh Morrissey, 150-1. Probably not looking beyond the 80s, I would think. Mitch Marner, 75-1. More of a setup guy. I will say this, just supporting my own team. I did have my $25 free bet today from the UFC on Saturday. So I threw that on Kyle Connor, 16-1. He's on the USA second power play. He's playing on that top line with Tkachuk, with Jack Eichel, both of them assist merchants. And Kyle Connor is right up there with the best goal scorers in the National Hockey League. So I didn't mind the 16-1 on Kyle Connor to be the tournament top scorer. We can kind of dive into the teams in a minute, but Jake, I mean, based on where they are on their teams and the number, any value picks you like there to maybe we're worth a little sprinkle, some longer shots?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about longer shots. The one name, and Aiden O'Neill showed him out in the chat, mentioned this Sam Reinhart 11-1. I don't mind at all. He's going to be playing on that first power play for Canada. Guy can score goals. We've seen it. Saw it last year, like the race he was in kind of until Matthews pulled away. He was kind of in that Rock and Richard battle. This is a guy who can put the puck in the net. There's a reason why he's on power play 1. So 11-1, I don't mind for the top goal scorer there. Matthews up top makes sense, although he hasn't scored in 6 straight now. I know I tweeted a few days ago when it was 5 straight that, he was bound to score and still hasn't happened. So it'll be interesting. I don't know if that means he's going to absolutely light up 4 Nations or if he's, kind of dealing with something. Oh, I don't know. Eichel, 28-1. Might not be a bad one. I don't know if I go much further than that, if I'm being honest with you, Huss. The Eichel number, maybe. Sid, love Sid. I find him to be more of a setup guy in his later career.
Sid's the sort of guy, though, Jake. Sid's the sort of guy, though. It would not surprise me at all if we're talking on Thursday night or Friday morning going, man, Sid did it again. Like, and let's face it, this is pretty much his Stanley Cup this year.
Right.
Like, the Penguins aren't going anywhere. He's not getting traded by all accounts. So, I mean, even if he has to miss some time after this, like, I think he is going to be so all in. And, man, I heard today that, was it you that said this earlier? No, it was Koliakovo. In Sidney Crosby's last 25 games representing Canada, we're 25-0.
Yeah, Huss. Like, Sidney Crosby puts on the Canada jersey, and, like, it's a different breed. I mean, he's a different breed in the Penguins jersey. The guy's got 3 Stanley Cups, but, yeah, something about when he throws on that Canada jersey, man, he breeds winning, and, it shows with, his record. Like you said, last 25 games, 25-0. It's silly, honestly. It's silly. So yeah, I mean, I don't like you said, Sid. Maybe that's as far as I go. Then Sid at 30-1. There's also a tournament top point scorer as well. If you scroll like way down the main list, there's a tournament top point scorer. McDavid, as we expected, 5-1, leading that list. McKinnon plus 750. Sid on that list is 25-1. Him and Kyle Connor actually both 25-1. Might not be a bad play either. If you're going to back Sid and you're not sure if it's going to be goals or assists, how he's getting it done, that might be a way to go. And not that much of a different number from the 30 to the 25.
No, it's a nice patriotic bet, to be honest. Sidney Crosby, top point scorer at 25-1. Just that number of McDavid obviously is the favorite of 5. McKinnon's at 7 plus 750. And then a gap, 15-1 for Matthews, Eichel, Jack Hughes, the 3 Americans. Makar 16, Kachuk 17, Barkov 18, Rantanen 20, Mitch Marner 22, and then that group: Kyle Connor, Crosby, Aho, Paterson, Jesper Bratt, Brady Kachuk, William Nylander, all 25-1. Top point scorer. I mean, listen, it's pretty hard to ignore McDavid at the top of that list. But it is crazy. I mean, we're not talking about the Oilers here where, he is the guy. I mean, he's got a lot of company. McKinnon moving to the wing playing with Crosby is actually really, really interesting as well. I mean, what that does to free him up maybe a little bit. I don't know. I mean, I think you got to basically just go in, pick your guy or two. Now, that being said, a Canada win, McDavid top tournament point scorer, I imagine will be coming across the exclusives at some point soon. Oh, and speaking of Patty's in the chat. Patty did mention if you want to pop Canada to win the Four Nations and Makar to win the Norris, it's plus 318. I think that number for Makar might get a little shorter because of what Quinn Hughes is dealing with. Now, Quinn Hughes, there's a lot of people that say he should be the Hart Trophy when you look at the splits between what he's done on the ice and what happens when he's not there. But it's all there. And Pat's also got the Patty Knows Puck combo card in the chamber. Matthews over 2.5 goals. Crosby and Nylander both over 1.5. And that is for the tournament, and that's boosted from 722 to plus 829. And I see we do like it. There's some support on that Lock Shop Bowl, and some people have been getting in on that.
We've been working with EvDog during the show here, and Patty's got a little exclusive up. I also got the Canada round robin points to 6.5 plus 165. So if you think Canada can take care of the two European nations and at least get to overtime with the U.S., that's plus 165 for 7 or more points. I mean, that's not bad at all. I don't mind that whatsoever.
No.
And then we're going to do the exclusive just popped off. We were just going to clean it up, but it's going to be Sid or McKinnon to score in game 1. I believe it's going to sit around even money. So that one's called Goal Harbor. That should be up in the exclusives shortly.
Goal Harbor. I love the names. I love the names for it. Okay, so let's get into the teams. And I guess we'll stay with points in a minute. We can go back to goals. Canada, top point scorer, McDavid plus 275, McKinnon 4-1, Reinhart, Makar 10-1, Marner 11, Sid 12, 20s on Stone, Point, Hagel, 22 on Konechny. I will say the best value on that board is Cale Makar at 10-1.
I was thinking the same thing. But Huss, if you're taking Cale Makar, top point scorer Canada, shouldn't you also just be taking him top point scorer tournament? Like, how many more guys are beating out Cale Makar? Like, because that means he's now beat out McDavid, McKinnon, Reinhart, Marner, Crosby. If he's the top point scorer in Canada, So, I mean, what number are you getting for the tournament on Makar?
He's 16. He's 6th for the tournament.
Yeah, I mean, maybe, it's tough. It's so tough, Huss, but I agree. That was the name that stuck out to me. When you said Makar 10-1, if anyone that wasn't McDavid or McKinnon would get it done, or Sid for that matter, I think Makar is that type of guy. And a guy who's, won a Conn Smythe, on the way to a Stanley Cup. Like, this guy in the big moments has been an absolute stud. Top power play unit with, some of the best players in the world. He could be racking up the points for sure. He
is so dynamic. But while we've got it, I'm gonna put my money where my mouth is. I'm gonna put a little sprinkle on Cale Makar, top point scorer for Canada at 10-1. USA is a lot closer. 7-1 on Matthews, Eichel, and Jack Hughes. 850 for Tkachuk. And then there's Kyle Connor at 11-1. I mean, Connor's turned into a brilliant passer as well. I think the concern is that he's right now starting on the second power play unit. So I'm not sure that same opportunity might be there for Connor that it is for those 4 top guys who look like they're going to be on that top power play. But I don't know. When I look at that list overall, I mean, I know Matthews is the guy and the captain. To me, Jack Hughes is. I mean, if I'm betting one of those 3 guys at 7-1, I don't know why. I just think Jack Hughes is such a complete and dynamic offensive player that I might give him a slight nod if I was going to go with one of those. What about you?
Yeah, it makes sense. It makes sense. I feel like Hughes is the guy, he can put the puck in the net, but he's also very creative getting the puck to his other guys too. And I think, you got a good even split. When it comes to Matthews, you're probably expecting a little bit more goal heavy than it is assist, although he's been dishing a lot more as of late. He's getting a lot of attention too. So it'll all probably depend on how these players are defended as well, right? Like, if you're not giving Matthews lanes to the net, he's going to have to find other guys to get shots towards the net. Maybe he will have a few more assists this tournament than, goals than we've seen him have in the past. So I don't mind the logic behind Hughes, though. I think he can really do it all. And, if you're going to pick a guy at 7-1, I think you could really spin a wheel and say, is it Matthews, is it Eichel, is it Hughes? Yeah, totally up for you to decide. But yeah, I don't mind the logic. I think I could get up behind that with you as well. Hughes 7-1 top point score for the U.S.
Oh, by the way, Cheeky Pegger, what's up, Cheeky, says Crosby's on the wing today. The line is McKinnon, Crosby, and Stone. We know Stone is going to be on. I thought Crosby was in the middle yesterday. But again, those guys, I mean, don't worry about it. It'll be the goal harbor line along with a little dose of Winnipeg with those players right now. Oh, and Big Maple, did Huss tail my UFC free bet pick on Saturday? Big Maple was funny. I was at the casino and I rolled in for the final 2 fights. I had forgot to make a pick, and I just rode with. The odds. I wanted to take Duplessis. He was too big of a favorite, so I bet the Chinese girl Zhang in the women's fight. Ended up winning. She was a plus money underdog, which was nice. So I'm not sure whether that was what you were on, but I actually did it myself and somehow got a winner. And then that made the free bet that much better, putting it in on Kyle Connor.
Not to give you FOMO, Huss, but I think his winner was like 6-1 on
oh,
Saturday.
No way.
So,
oh my God. Okay, well, Maple, that's on me. We both won, but 6-1 is 6-1. Nicely done. Back to player points. I mean, quickly, let's touch on the Swedes and the Finns. Like Sweden, I mean, I know who you guys are going to go with. Nylander. Elias Pettersson is 6-1. Jesper Bratt is sneaky. He kind of reminds me of Kyle Connor, like a little bit forgotten, on his team because of Jack Hughes. But man, he's turned into a point machine. Then you got Forsberg. I'm a big Kempe fan. He's 7-1. And then you kind of get into that next level. Zibanejad is playing top line center though at 14-1. I mean, if you're just thinking about guys that might have the opportunity to play with top players, get out there a little bit more, I could make an argument that the value on Zibanejad at 14-1 makes some sense. But I don't have a great take. I mean, listen, I'll say this about Willie Nylander. He might be the coolest guy in the league right now. I mean, he's tough for Austin Matthews. He was always the pappy, but it kind of seems like the style dog is Willie Nylander. And this is an opportunity as underdogs to go in and make some noise and do it without Marner and without Matthews, who he's always sort of associated with. I wouldn't be surprised if Willie Nylander actually steps up big time in this tourney.
Yeah, listen, Willie throws on the 3 crowns, man, and it almost brings out a different player in him. I don't know if you saw some of the World Championship highlights from, a few years back, but he's out there, he's laying the body on guys, and you're just like, you're begging for that type of play with the Leafs. And I mean, you're probably not going to get that because they play 82 regular season games, and sometimes you do got to put some reserve in the tank for when the playoffs roll around. But it'll be interesting to see what level he brings. Like, he is a guy who can take his game to a very, very high level. And I could see it going 2 different ways for Willie. I could see him being the absolute star of this tournament and people really being like put on to Willie, or, maybe it's a more quiet event. Maybe he's focusing on the rest of the season here with Toronto. But yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting one, Huss. I don't mind Lucas Raymond at 15-1. I think he's a little under the radar guy, plays in Detroit, get a little bit, better, better players around him, see what he can do. It's all going to depend on the line combos, Huss. Like, you really got to dive into what these insiders are tweeting. Who's on power play 1? Who's on line 1? Who's playing with who? Like, it's really going to make a difference on how you place these bets. So don't blindly go in and just start clicking names, as much as it would probably be a blast to do. Familiarize yourself, go on Twitter, check out what these guys are saying, who's playing where, and, it's going to be in constant flux, I'm sure, during the entire tournament. But it's a quick, like we said, it's a quick tournament. Like, it's 4 games max, and some teams are only going to play 3.
Well, no, and listen, if you're making futures bets like we are, you just have to go with what we've got. For Finland, it looks like it's Barkov in between Laine and Teravainen, Aho with Rantanen and Lehkonen. Now, it wouldn't all surprise me if they load up Barkov, Aho, Rantanen at some point together as well. Rupi Hintz is on that third line. I love Hintz, but it's pretty tough not to take a guy in the top 6 if you're looking for top goals or point scorer. He's with Granlund and Kakko, and then Armia, Lundell, and Luosterainen. It's the defense that just looks overwhelmed with the loss of Heiskanen and others. I mean, Lindell and Mata, Valimaki, Yokoharu, Mikkola. As far as the Swedes go, the lines early on: Forsberg, Paterson, Kempe, Zibanejad, Nylander, Raquel. And again, I saw that line listed as the number 1. Those are your top 2. And Brat's playing with Eriksson, Ek, and Raymond on that third line. They'll get all the tough matchups. Like, if Sweden has last change, you'll see Eriksson, Ek going up against the top centers on the other teams. And then you've got Lindholm, Arvidsson, and Gustav Nyquist. The fact that Zibanejad is there, and he's also on the top power play unit, as I say, I think there's value for Zibanejad with the Swedish team as the top point scorer for Sweden at 14-1. Again, you're just going up against the other guys on his team.
Yeah, listen, Huss, I mean, I think this is the one thing I was going to say about the European nations. If you think, and if you're hoping for a Canada-US final, you might be better off just taking a top scorer from the team as opposed to the actual tournament. Like, if you're getting behind a goal scorer, top point scorer for the tournament, you're probably leaning more a Canada-US route. if you're looking just to get a piece of the guys from the European nations, a top scorer for their team makes a lot more sense. So, keep that in mind as well. Another thing we got to get to here, Huss. Patty's been cooking while we've been talking.
Yes.
The combo cards have been loaded up for tonight, for Four Nations starting up. This all has happened within the last, 20, 30 minutes. So starting with tonight, we got a Tuesday night super boost. It's Sixers and Knicks both to win. Plus 115 is now up to plus 172. We got a Four Nations super boost. Canada and U.S. to win their first games. So that's Wednesday and Thursday. Both big favorites. Together is minus 119. Patty's got that up to even money, plus 100. We got a Genesis super boost. Scotty and Morikawa, both inside the top 20. That's from minus 137 up to plus 100. Pretty nice boost there. Some NBA stuff for tonight. Grady Dick over 1.5 3-pointers. OG Anunoby over 1.5 3-pointers. And Devin Booker over 1.5 over 2.5 3-pointers, I should say. Plus 355 up to plus 405. The chalk it up parlay, Sixers, Knicks, Pistons, Grizzlies, boosted to plus 469. And then some more hockey stuff here. We got Patty Knows Puck. He already mentioned that in the Lock Shop chat. Matthews over 2.5 goals in the tournament. Crosby over 1.5 goals in the tournament. And Willie over 1.5 goals in the tournament. That one's plus 853 post boost. We also have the generational talents. Crosby to get a point against Sweden. And McDavid to score against Sweden. That's plus 412 up from plus 359. Your guy, Morrissey, in the points from the point. Morrissey and McCarr both to record a point in Canada's first game. Almost plus 300 after the boost. And a couple more in there as well, I think, for the golf. So a lot to choose from, in the last 20 minutes here in the combos. Make sure you sift through those. Some of those will be live up until tomorrow, with the first game not being until 8 p.m. Eastern. 6 p.m. Edmonton time.
Hey, don't forget about the KT Rollster over 3.5 maps played and T1 Esports over 4.5 maps played. Esports boost up to plus 393. I'm a big KT Rollster guy. I think they've got 4 maps in them for sure.
Listen, Huss, I'll be honest, that is not from our Canada team, but it is live in Canada. If you are an esports fan, that's the old combo we got up there. Rollster to win, over 3.5 maps played. T1 Esports to win, under 4.5 maps played. I can't tell you any insight into that other than, if you're into esports, take a look.
Does anyone in the chat know what that, and it's LCK. So I am familiar with a few of the big, like League of Legends.
Yeah, it's League of Legends.
Is another one. God, this reminds me, was it 4 years ago at this time when we were dealing with everything being shut down, betting on Madden and esports?
Yeah.
What a time in our lives. What a time in our lives. All right, so I've got a few bets in here already. Let's quickly look at. So as I say, I'm in on Zibanejad at 14-1. I just think there's good value on that one. I think Cale Makar at 10-1 for Canada is nice. I haven't made a USA bet, but I think I'm going to lean Jack Hughes at 7-1.
Mm-hmm.
And then I guess, do we want to take a shot at Finland? Barkov is going to be such a big part of that team, and same with Rantanen. It's easy to look up at the top. I mean, Aho will be a key figure on their power play there. I mean, I guess if you want a number that's a little bit better at that point, unlike some of these other teams, I have a hard time getting out of the top 3 for the Finns.
Yeah, Finns is a tough one for me, Huss. I think, like you said, it's pretty top heavy, and I think you just kind of got to roll with one of those guys up top, a Rantanen, an Aho, Barkov. Those all kind of make sense to me. Line maybe for the goal scorers, but I don't know. I don't have enough faith in my who's going to be the guy there. It's all just going to depend on. It could go like any which way, I feel like. The other thing I will say, Huss, I know we're running short on time here, but if you do go to the This is in the all section, but if you go to the player points section and scroll down, there are individual player point totals. I believe we have these for goals as well. But for instance, like we talked about Makar, over 4.5 points for Makar, plus 130. I don't hate that number at all.
This is in points? Yeah.
Nylander over 3.5 points, plus 120. Not a bad number. Sid over 3.5 points is even money. I could see Sid putting up a few points in one of the games.
Oh, yeah.
If you're a McDavid fan, which we know there many are, over 4.5 points for McDavid is minus 133. So if you think he can get 5 points, you got to remember, like if Canada makes the final, that's McDavid's getting 4 games. You tell me McDavid's not getting 5 points in 4 games?
Oh, I think he will. And same with Sid. I mean, if Canada gets to the final,
yeah, point per game.
I expect Crosby to be a point of player game. By the way, could you please pass on to Evdog?
Mm-hmm.
We got to get our Jets up on these lists.
Okay.
People are definitely good. Let's get Josh Morrissey and Kyle Connor for a total points in the tournament. And do we have, is there, I was looking before, is there a Kyle Connor goal number? I'm not sure that there is. I think they're worried that KFC might explode at the tourney. 16-1 for the top tournament goal scorer, and he is 7-1 for top goal scorer for USA. I'm in on that. But I do know there's plenty of cool bettors here in the peg that probably would love to jump on a Josh Morrissey point prop or a Kyle Connor goal and or point prop for it. Keep your eyes on the combos, because I think maybe even later on today we'll work in the group chat. I'm going to cook a couple things up that we'll get up there for the tournament, and obviously you're going to need to bet that before puck drop tomorrow night for the Canada games for anything in Canada, and then we can maybe pop in a couple more for USA before their game on Thursday. And at the same time, tomorrow in the lock shop, I know Pat's going to come on and we're going to talk some golf. I kind of gave you, my favorite, when we're just going through the top goal scorers or point scorers. But tomorrow, myself and Dusty, and I'm sure probably Patty, we'll do some individual props for the event. Like Jack Hughes, total goals in the tournament, over 1.5 plus 105. Don't mind that at all. We'll get some individual ones, but they're all there.
And then us, there's even, you'll have this tomorrow, but game 1 in-game props are available as well. Like McDavid assist, minus 133 for game 1. I don't know how you don't get a piece of that.
Oh, we'll have a same gamer tomorrow for sure for the game. Load up a few goal and point scorers along with Canada as they take on Sweden in the first game. All right, folks, don't forget tonight, poker tourney. Go to Coolbet, click on poker, download the poker software, go into tournaments, see that little magnifying glass, search, just put in lock shop tournament will come in, get your entry in, and we will see you 8 p.m. Edmonton time, 9 p.m. Winnipeg time on the lock shop. And tomorrow, some more picks for Four Nations, and then Canada back on the ice to take on the Swedes. It should be a good one. Jake.
One more thing, buddy. We got to get some Scotties picks before Friday when that tournament gets going as well. So we'll need some Scotties picks, maybe
100%. I've already been looking. All the odds are up right now on the Scotties. Winner, top 2, top 3, top 4 bets, all there right now. Rachel Holman, the big favorite, minus 250 to win the whole thing. I promise you, we will have Scotty's picks before it. I was actually worried. I'm like, geez, we're going to be in Boston next week. How am I going to watch the Scotties? I'm going to have to get some sort of a feed on my phone while we're out there for a few bit. But anyways, hopefully we'll see you at the poker game tonight. Check out the exclusives and the combo cards for the Four Nations. We'll put some finishing touches on a few more for tomorrow in the lock shop before puck drop tomorrow night in Montreal. For JBM, I'm Huss. Thanks for joining us. Dusty will stream tonight, I believe, as long as he's feeling up to it. But we'll see you on the felt at Coolbet tonight for the Lock Shop Poker Series, and back here tomorrow at noon. Have a great one, everyone.